How are you?
Hey, Jillian, how you doing?
Great, thank you.
Good.
We're really excited to be here with everyone today. And as you all know, we are joining together to talk about how to reach and connect with a younger consumer. I know that this is something on a whole lot of marketers' minds. So before we jump in here, my name is Jillian Robinson from Hudson, and I have the pleasure to introduce you to Miguel, who is the Senior Marketing Director at Ferrero USA and actually one of Brand Innovators' top 40 under 40 class of 2021. So welcome, Miguel.
Thank you, Jillian. I appreciate that. And, I would love to take the moment to introduce our lovely moderator for the session, Jillian. So Jillian is the Senior Global Communications Manager for Hudson. Hudson is a social media software solution that has helped many companies like Condé Nast, Apple, and Unilever. She comes with extensive experience spearheading marketing and comm strategies across industries. So, Jillian, I'm really looking forward to our chat.
Me too, Miguel. So with that said, let's dive right in here. Today, we're really going to be discussing how to reach and connect with younger consumers. And this pairing between the two of us, it really could not be more perfect. At Hudson, I know we're seeing so many of our brand partners really investing in reaching Gen Z and figuring out how they can do that while also preparing how do they reach the next up and coming generation of younger consumers as well. We're seeing tons of brands adopt new channels like TikTok. They're learning how to speak their language. They're becoming more experimental, breaking away from rigid brand standards and really having fun in these spaces and giving themselves permission to be more playful with the marketing. We actually dedicated an entire report to the topic of generational marketing as part of our Global Digital Insights series. That's how important we think this shift is to discuss. So when I was reading this report, Miguel, I actually saw a stat that really stood out to me that I wanted to share with everyone today. Are you ready for it? Gen Z will actually spend $3.1 trillion in market by 2020 or 2030. 2030, $3.1 trillion.
We got to target them. We got to get them.
Now is the time. It is wild
Yes.
out there. We'd love to hear your take on marketing to these younger consumers, Miguel.
Julian, I think where I want to pivot the conversation is really looking at some of the key buzzwords that we tend to use as marketers in terms of reaching younger consumers, and maybe like putting a different spin on them and providing some of my perspective on some of these buzzwords, so to speak. And the first one being the term audiences. I would say know your audience is something we hear a lot in our careers, but depending on your marketing objective, and to be honest, your budget, an audience per se may be too big of a target to actually be effective. There may be times when we have to really go a level deeper and talk about communities within a particular audience. The second, I would say, buzzword is authenticity, which is something we as marketers, we strive for and we should be doing. Although the idea of intimacy is something I want to quickly dive into. Some of the fastest growing forms of media tend to be very intimate, sometimes fostering parasocial relationships. So when a parasocial relationship is when you feel like you have a relationship with someone, but that person may not actually know who you are. Yeah, I know it sounds a little weird, but if you think about this particular moment in history, it makes sense that we want to feel some type of connection with the content and those who are creating the content that we consume. And then lastly, we have experiences. It's almost taken for granted at this point that millennials and Gen Zers value experiences over things. But what we want more from we want to deliver more from these experiences. We want to get more. So when we think about experiences, especially as millennial, I'm a millennial, we want novelty. We want choices from these experiences. We don't want the cookie cutter. We want something cultivated, something unique for us when we think about the idea of an experience. I think, if I were to summarize these three concepts, it's really about moving from, this idea of a broad culture to a multitude of diverse cultures. I mean, this movement has been something that's been happening for quite some time, but now marketers have more tools to track and really reach these specific cultures And I, for one, I'm personally excited about what it unlocks for us and how we can go deeper with these communities and these subcultures.
Absolutely. I love what you're saying about subcultures. That's really resonating with me for sure. But like you said, when it comes to really reaching those subcultures, specifically in a younger demographic, that's a super broad audience. And I would imagine it's like really critical to find your niche within those subcultures or those audiences. How have you teased out a community from such a broad space?
Okay, so I will use one of the broadest spaces of all, spaces with just gaming. So over the last 2 years, since taking over the Butterfinger business, we've really honed in on with the gaming, what I'll start by saying community, and with a particular initiative that we call Game Better with Butterfinger. When we started the effort of Game Butter with Butterfinger, I personally thought the term gamers was the audience I was looking to reach. Well, Jillian, I'll tell you what, I was wrong about that. And I'll admit I was wrong about that. I quickly learned that gaming is really the activity. There's many different communities that engage with this activity of gaming. So you have this broad audience that we call gamers, but there's actually subcultures or sub-communities within this audience of gamers. And when we've really teased that out, we've actually gotten better results the more specific we get to those particular communities. So instead of solely, don't get me wrong, it's very important to reach the broader audience through conventions like PAX or pre-roll buys on Twitch and YouTube, we've also we've supplemented that with a focus on particular communities and communities who create and consume content about individual games and franchises, and reach those specific fans with things we know they'll love and that they will share with their communities. We actually work directly with game publishers to develop unique in-game content, and we partner more so with actual micro influencers who are true fans, I would say almost ambassadors of those particular games we're partnering with. This has truly allowed us to connect with those communities. Finally, we actually want to elevate different communities of gaming influencers. So for example, I will use, the most recent example that we have. In February, we hosted streams and panel discussions at the end of Black History Month to discuss and showcase this particular community of influencers. To give a context of what that looked like, we have a quick sizzle reel of that particular activation to show, and hopefully it'll pop up, we'll see, but it looks like it's happening.
Can't wait to see that.
There we go.
Butterfinger has been involved in the gaming community for years and is constantly striving to showcase a wide diversity of gamers. In celebration of Black History Month, the brand pledged to elevate the discussion around diversity in gaming. The Diversity in Gaming Roundtable, hosted by Butterfinger, put a spotlight on an amazing cast of streamers and their unique stories. Brand and influencer social posts received 93.2 thousand organic impressions. They streamed a combined 510 minutes along with the roundtable, which earned 54,000 total views. From Twitch to Twitter, the gaming community voiced how proud they were to work with a brand like Butterfinger. Check out the Diversity in Gaming Roundtable hosted by Butterfinger.
I didn't see women who look like me out there, loud and proud. I was like, okay, so we're women who casually game, we just have fun, we build a community, and we just do this.
So we all, help each other in a way, and I love that.
Super important for all of us to express allyship all year round so that we can have a more diverse and inclusive and equitable space in gaming for all of us to enjoy.
Each gamer led a stream sponsored by Butterfinger. Check it out.
Oh my God, Butterfinger's going crazy. By the way, oh my gosh. Shout out to Pop Eat Arts.
I have so much Butterfinger stuff, and I'm not mad at it.
Yo, they broke the bot. This is a throwback to Mixer. Break the bot. Break that bot. Break the bot. Break that bot. Break the bot. With subs. Show some love. I am broken. I don't even know what to do.
Make sure you guys get you some Butterfinger, all right? Then you can understand why I tell y'all the following.
So I think, this just shows a very small example. This was mainly an organic, quick, program that we did, but it's all about elevating our partners and really giving them the opportunity to talk to their communities. And really, as a brand, yes, we had t-shirts and such, but we took a step back and we said, guys, talk to one another. Talk about what it means to be, a Black streamer, Black, video game, a Black Twitch streamer, and what does that mean for you guys? And we allowed that and we fostered that opportunity. And again, it's about going deeper into these communities and not thinking about a particular audience of gamers as one and the same, and really taking that level deeper.
That is so awesome, Miguel. I wish you could see. I actually have literal goosebumps on my arms. I just think that this is such a wonderful example of brands doing it right and really truly walking the walk, not just talking the talk, and giving that spotlight to amplify Black voices in the space. I think that's fantastic. So huge kudos to you guys. I also love that one streamer had Butterfinger themed makeup on. I thought that was really fantastic. But with that said, the concept of parasocial relationships, I find that super interesting. I know there's a few celebrities who I feel like I know, like Britney Spears, who has no clue who I am. But it makes me think of that feeling of familiarity we have specifically with a brand that we really love. Can you dive deeper into that and maybe give us a few examples?
Yeah, no, of course. I'll give two examples. I'll take one, being podcasting. I think that's quite a generic medium that we all, one way or another, leverage. So when you think about podcasts, for example, unlike, I'll call it the noisy party, so to speak, of Twitter and Facebook, listening to a podcast is almost by default a solo experience, something you do while working, exercising, or commuting. It's an intimate experience that makes you feel like the podcaster is someone you chat with, you laugh with on an everyday basis. This feeling can create actually a lot of trust with the listeners, more than you can with a commercial on TV or digital, or a magazine ad, for example. And now, coming out of that Twitch video, I'll go again and use Twitch as an example. So streaming on Twitch is another example of this parasocial relationships, because when you watch a streamer on Twitch, especially an up and coming one, you'll notice they mention viewers by name just to thank them for joining or just to say hi. If you as a viewer, say you type a question or make a joke in their chat box, they may respond, and most likely they would. This creates a sense for the viewer or their followers that they actually know the person, and you root for them, both within the game they're playing to win, but honestly, in longer term, you root for them as they grow their audience and their career. We've seen firsthand from a Butterfinger perspective, followers actually get very excited when their favorite up-and-coming streamer partners with a brand like a Butterfinger. For them, it feels like their friend is getting their flowers. And Butterfinger, in return, actually we've gotten a lot of positive sentiment on that, because we're the brand giving those flowers to, this up-and-coming streamer that they follow, and, they've seen go from 1,000 to 20,000, 30,000, and so on. So there is that piece of connection that you have when you go into, at some of those more micro influencers, for example. But I would say when you think about these personalities on Twitch or platforms like podcasting, that creates more intimacy with their audiences, it provides a great opportunity for brands if and only if the brand finds a way to authentically engage in that moment. So you have the opportunity for intimacy. Now, as a brand, going back to that, second buzzword, you found a channel for intimacy. Now you need to make sure you keep top of mind the authentic way of engaging to that intimate platform.
Absolutely. Speaking of opportunities, it's a really exciting time again. People are getting back out there. Live entertainment is back. Things are happening. Finally, at Dash Hudson, we're really interested to see the ways that social media and entertainment avenues are converging. We've been calling this the era of social entertainment. We're big believers that this is really happening out there right now. How do you think companies can provide younger consumers with unique experiences with their brand, blending digital and in-person touch points?
I will say first and foremost, it's definitely not a one size fits all. I think it depends on your brand. It depends on your industry. But I will say the one thing that I do feel is more of a blanket statement. I always say, meet them where they are and provide them a unique experience, or take them where they want to be. So I think no matter what, that is a consistent thread, no matter the brand, the industry. Now if I were to dive deeper into an example of, that I'm executing right now, I'm currently running a promotion with Fanatics. So Fanatics is the #1 sports merchandise and apparel industry retailer. And I'm partnering with them because we're in the thick of the sports season. We came out of Super Bowl. We're just coming out of March Madness. Baseball season is up and coming. So, this is spring, even though it doesn't look out like that outside here in New Jersey, but it's springtime. And, we wanted to partner and really lean into sports. So with the purchase of a Butterfinger, you can receive Fanatics bucks to buy the apparel of your choosing. So again, you have that choice. It's not a particular set in stone what you can get. So you get the bucks and you can choose what apparel or gear you would like. And then again, you can dive even deeper for your favorite team or sports. That was great. And, but what we wanted to do was actually go and elevate that idea of providing experience and choice even further. So we overlaid a sweeps for consumers to win a VIP trip to the championship of their choice for next year. So we're not forcing the Super Bowl, like it's not win a chance to the Super Bowl or March Madness. We're actually providing our consumers the opportunity to choose and cultivate their own once in a lifetime experience. And I think, if we think about what has been done in the past, and I'll use, I'll play on Super Bowl because so many, we've all once or in our careers have played in this space around enter for a chance to win Super Bowl, which is great. But now we're at a time of taking that the step further for this new younger consumer and saying, okay, how can we have these tried and true tactics, but expand it to a world where they can cultivate that experience, whether it's in sports or what have you, on their own terms, so to speak.
I love that element of personalization without having to know who the person is. That's very, very creative. Good approach on that. With that said, millennials and Gen Xers out there, we all remember the iconic line from The Simpsons, "Keep your hands off my Butterfinger." I certainly remember it. How is Ferrero thinking about leveraging media, pop culture, and virality to really reach that next generation we're talking about today?
Yeah, so sorry, so it's actually No One Lays a Finger, but yes.
Okay. Well, I remembered it.
No, it is. So I'm just joking, but it is actually a very iconic tagline. And, we knew that No One Lays a Finger was an iconic tagline. And to your point, if we think about the heyday of the brand, Bart Simpson, the Simpsons era, it was something that people still echo back to us and still remember. So we know that that was a good thread of consistency that we could have from the past to the present of this campaign. And it was an important anchor for us. Not to mention, it is a great way of evoking our product irresistibility. So we say Butterfinger is an irresistible product. What better tagline than, no one lays a finger on my, on my Butterfinger, or, the way we pivoted, no one lays a finger on your Butterfinger. And I'll get to the pivot there on the my versus yours in a moment. But when we decided that, there is a point of heritage and iconicness of this tagline, and that needs to be the anchor, we said, okay, now how do we take this and make it relevant for a new, age group, a new demographic who may not have the affinities that some of us have from back in the heyday of this brand with the Bart and the Simpsons partnership. So we looked at what's happening now and in the moment culturally. And you would see that crime shows and documentaries have been and continue to be beloved in the US. If we could look at Netflix, there always tends to be a top 10 crime show or documentary. I mean, I love a good crime show or and a crime related documentary. So we knew that there's something there. So we leveraged that relevant kind of idea, and the output of that was the BFI, so the Butterfinger Investigators. So as you can tell, the BFI is a spin on FBI. So we've created a whole detective investigation unit to really stop Butterfinger thieves red-handed. So I have seen a lot of great success with this campaign. I'm really, it's almost 2 years old. We launched in September of 2020. And to your point around how we connect it with the younger consumer, we know that the younger consumer is on digital. It's mobile, it's digital. Long gone are unfortunately, are the days of TV. TV is still very important. Do not get me wrong. You will see my ad on TV, but we need to leverage digital to really drive that further connection and drive a little deeper. So what we've done is we've leveraged digital media to help extend our story. So we've created what we call webisodes, which are about, anywhere from 2.5 to 3 minutes long, to really immerse our consumers into the world of the BFI. So when you see one of our webisodes, it is more like a little TV show, or a little, movie trailer or clip that allows the consumer much more than the 15 or 30 seconds they can get on TV or, a pre-roll by. So there's this level of, developing immersive, in-depth content that we've taken, and we've leveraged digital media to help us. So for those of you who may not know or haven't seen the BFI, that's unfortunate, but we can change that, because I'm going to show, I can't show a full webisode because I don't think we have enough time for that, but what we will show is our first 30-second launch spot from September of 2020.
Butterfinger Investigators.
You're set.
Whoa, that's next level.
I'm going in.
Who are you guys? BFI, Butterfinger Investigators. No one lays a finger on your Butterfinger.
So that was our first launch, as I mentioned, and we're continuing to evolve this campaign year over year with more unique, out-of-the-box ways where thieves are coming after people's Butterfingers, and the way that the BFI come and stop that thief red-handed. So again, it's really, for us, when we talk about bringing this campaign to life for younger consumers, it's how we can leverage digital media, extend this world, the content that we gave, partner with the right influencers, and also take the moments where it's applicable to bring this in store as well, to really help connect this idea with shoppers. So we've done that as well at key moments like Halloween, as well as some everyday moments for us. So yeah, there you go.
I've got to admit, in that clip there, I really was not expecting that big blue infusion on that guy's face. It made me jump a little bit. So you definitely pay attention. I did jump. But I really believe the overarching theme of the Brand Innovators content today is, how do we win the digital game? Big question. What would you say is the single biggest digital development in recent memory that marketers can leverage to win?
Okay, I mean, I feel like my answer is going to be a generic one, or the one everyone's going to expect. Of course, what we're seeing right now is TikTok as a platform has completely taken over. It's, brands are being completely developed leveraging this app. So one, I would say the no-brainer is, if you can, activate and find your authenticity on TikTok, partner with the right influencers and find your way in. I would say that's the most tactical and what we see. And then you also have other emerging platforms. Like for us, we really have seen Twitch become our way in with gamers, again, because of the particular community that we're going after. And then just, I would say digital in general, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, these are all tried and trues. But I would say one of the biggest learnings that I've had to date is the influencer community. This younger consumer is looking at these folks, one as personal advocates of advice for what clothes to wear, what food to buy, what brands to lean into. So it's one, making sure as a brand you dedicate time for influencers in your mix, but really find the right influencers that can truly become eventual brand advocates for you. And what we found actually most impactful is partnering with these micro and mid-tier influencers, because there's still this level of authenticity that they bring to the table. Again, going back to the buzzword, there's still that level of authenticity that they bring to the table that maybe some of these macro influencers, even though you may get the reach there that a mid-tier or micro wouldn't provide, you're getting the level of engagement from their followers because they're not seeing so many of these brand partnerships, brand integrations, and they want to see their friend grow, and they want to see them, propel their careers in partnership with some of these brands. So those would be some of the, biggest takeaways. I recognize it's a little generic because, TikTok influencers, these are also, call it buzzword tactics of the moment, but it's true and it's working. So I think the biggest piece of advice, which is really dependent on each brand and your strategies, how are you driving that closeness and that relevancy and that intimacy when you execute against these digital tactics?
That's great advice, Miguel. Thank you for sharing that, everyone. We're definitely aligned for sure. With that said, that wraps up all of my questions for today. You've got a couple compliments in the chat, but I did want to open up the floor to any questions that anybody may have before we close up this session for the day.
Great.
Just keeping an eye on the chat box there.
Jillian, maybe if we don't have any questions, I know Dash Hudson's doing a lot. Anything that you would like to build in regards to just connecting with the younger consumer via digital and social?
I think what you were saying earlier, and it's funny that you just asked me that question because I was about to say the same thing. I think a lot of our alignment today is about the opportunity that TikTok is really providing for brands and the magic that happens when you do leverage that micro influencer, really figuring out how you can connect your brand to that community in a more authentic way. And it's really interesting too to see the creative spin that these micro influencers can have on your brand when you kind of allow them permission to go ahead and do things in their own way versus trying to keep things too rigid. So I know for us at Dash Hudson, we're all about the era of social entertainment and the opportunity that some of these really creator-driven platforms like TikTok can provide. But I do see a question that just popped in here for you, Miguel. We got some brain spinning, a couple more. What brands do you look up to in the digital space? What leaders in marketing do you admire?
So I would say brands in the digital space, I'll keep this broad because I don't want to, be put on the spot with a particular one, but I'll keep it broad in my answer, and it's very intentional. I think the ones that I really look towards, believe it or not, everyone will want to say some of these bigger guys like Nike, Apple, all that. I actually really value what some of these new up and coming brands are doing because of their level of nimbleness. I think in this world of digital space and how quick social and digital move, we need to be nimble and we need to be agile and we need to be able to jump on something in real time. And I think, unfortunately, some of us as bigger brands, we have a bigger ship to move. So our nimbleness isn't there as some of these up and coming brands, some of these challenger brands, so to speak. So I would encourage us, those of us who have bigger brands and maybe some more protocols, so to speak, in place, how can we learn from these challenger brands, these up and coming brands that are being built and growing and developing on this, platforms like TikTok and what have you. What can we learn from them and kind of put into our, call it, machine or protocols? Meaning, do we, do we have a log of pre-approved responses or what have you? It's more so for me, when I think about the brands I look to, it's actually these newer brands that are being developed on the social space because they're doing it right. And how can I take some nuggets and really as influence and as inspiration for my brand?
Wonderful answer. And I'm about to put you on the spot again. Are there any particular up and coming influencers that are of particular interest lately? Anybody that stands out?
Okay, so in the world of not putting myself in a position of, well, why didn't you say me? Because we partner with a lot of influencers. I would say for us, it really truly comes down to influencers that are aligned to our brand personality and who really evoke our brand personality and what we want to do with a particular program. And I will say we have partnered quite consistently with influencers. If I think about gaming, we tend to go back to the same influencers time in, time out. Again, specifically micro and mid-tier, because they really do help us. They become, the more we partner with them, they really do become brand advocates. And you see, it doesn't become a question, oh, why are you partnering with X brand? Why are you partnering with Butterfinger? It pivots actually the conversation to, oh, why aren't you partnering with Butterfinger on this? And that's kind of the dynamics we want to have. So what we do, and when we find, whether it's in the gaming space or influencers that we want to partner with at Halloween or what have you, or baking, for example, we really try to find those influencers that we can really go back to consistently and that eventually really do become a true part of the team. And I know it's a little cliche and corny, but it is true. Like, we come back to them because they start to feel a part of the team.
Absolutely. Relationships are everything for sure. And kind of springing from that topic, I think our final question here is, what does connecting authentically really mean?
I think it starts with knowing your brand. So knowing what your brand stands for. So what is who is the person, who is your brand as a person? Who are they showing up to as the party? What is their brand tone? And taking that and making sure that no matter what execution you do, you really come to the table with, whether it's influencer partners, whether it's promotions with other brands, whether it's content, that it really helps to evoke that personality, because that shows, one, that your brand is not being force fit into a situation, because it's very clear when a brand is force fit into a situation. So that delivers a moment of authenticity. But then it also is about moments of, when do you need to just take a step back slightly? I know it's hard for us as marketers. We want our full branding. We want, all of our brand communications out there. But there are moments where we actually get more value from the consumer base when we take more of a passive seat. So if I go back to the example that I shared of the round table that we had for Black History Month on Twitch, these guys we did not give them, all right, you guys have these 5 lines that you have to say about Butterfinger. No, we said, guys, we'll give you some t-shirts, but have a conversation. We had a moderator to help guide the conversation, but it was all about authentically hearing from these voices what it means to be a Black streamer. And Butterfinger was there. We were passive, we facilitated, but we allowed this opportunity, and we saw that actually drive more engagement for us as a brand, and more, than we'd even wanted or asked for. So there's different ways to really be authentic. I always say it starts with knowing who your brand is, knowing how you want to show up to your consumer, and then ensuring you keep that thread across every partnership, every activation, and every messaging you put in front of your consumer, and making sure that there are moments where that this may be too much of a force fit, and be okay with either stepping away completely or maybe taking a back seat, and recognizing that it actually in the long run will do your brand more justice than not.
Couldn't have said it any better myself for sure. Thanks so much, Miguel, for all of your thoughtful answers. And thank you to everyone for tuning in today. Now, I have to be completely honest. I am like big time craving a Butterfinger right now. So something that you're doing is working. So thanks so much, Miguel. Really excited for the opportunity to speak with you today and appreciate the opportunity. So thank you.
And Jillian, thank you for, moderating a great conversation. I think the questions were great, and hopefully we were able to spark some inspiration for those who are viewing.